So this video is going to be a bit more serious than the last one because I kind of just want to talk about what happened with the Mushroom versus Star Splatfest. I promise the next one will be more lighthearted. So back on Splatoon 2's third anniversary, Nintendo announced that they would do 3 more Splatfests until March 2021. Those being Chicken vs. Egg 2, Trick vs. Treat 2, and an all-new Splatfest, Super Mushroom vs. Superstar. And when this was first announced, there was a ton of hype surrounding the Splatfest. This would be the first new Splatfest in a year and a half. That's the longest we've ever had to wait for new content. It was the end of what I like to call the bonus fests, this one being special because it had its own unique theme. But what should have been the final send-off from Splatoon 2 Splatfest and a celebration for Mario really just fell flat on its face hard. Before we can get into why, I would just like to say that these are just my opinions, and if you think that this is the best Splatfest there has ever been, that is totally okay, and I am happy you have found something valuable and something that I couldn't. But for now, let's get into why I believe Mushroom vs. Star is the worst Splatfest there has ever been. So how did the Splatfest take a turn for the worst? It had everything going for it. It was hyped up by the community for being the first new Splatfest since the Final Fest in 2019, which is one of the reasons the Splatfest fell hard flat. It couldn't live up to the hype. In fact, it was never designed to. This should have been a normal Splatfest back when Splatfests were monthly, and I know the theme wouldn't have fit back then, but you're giving the community another final Splatfest event, and that's not something that can really just be thrown around lightly. This is really just a nitpick issue that I had with this Splatfest, but I know I can't be the only one who expected a new map or some Mario-themed remix songs and just got nothing. The second largest problem with this Splatfest was the map rotations, specifically the shifty stations. Throughout the course of Splatoon 2's active lifestyle, it had some absolute banger shifty stations like MC Princess Diaries, Flutters in the Attic, Fueler in the Ashes, and so on. So with awesome maps like these, what maps did Nintendo choose for shifty station map rotations? They chose the Bunker Games, Cannon Fire Pearl, the Bouncy Twins, and Chronicles of Rolonium. Cannon Fire Pearl and the Bunker Games are good maps, but the Bunker Games was the last Splatfest map in Chicken vs. Egg 2, which had just experienced a few months prior, and that ended up making this map feel stale. The other 2 maps have no excuses. These maps suck. The Bouncy Twins' whole gimmick is 2 bounce pads. It's one of the most hated maps in the community, so why this map returned makes no sense. The Chronicles of Rolonium isn't really good either. Its gimmick is Rolonium that you can shoot and launch at people, and it's just overall not a good map. Its design is really poor. And this just shows the problem with the tone-deaf nature that Nintendo gives with its communities, considering they've made some really good shifty stations prior, yet chose not to use them. But the number one biggest problem with Mushroom vs. Star Splatfest isn't actually a problem on Nintendo's end. It's a problem on the community's. 68.2% of players chose Team Star, while 31.8% of players chose Team Mushroom. And that really doomed the Splatfest. There has never, ever before in Splatoon's history been a Splatfest that was this cut down the line on who's on what team and who's on the other. Like, there's never been a Splatfest where the majority of the community has said, we are all going here, and like no one went on Team Mushroom. If you were someone like me and you chose to be on the other 68.2% of players who chose Team Star, then you saw a lot more of green versus purple ink colors than you saw red versus yellow. One of the most minor but best things about Splatfest are the new ink colors and combinations, because there really aren't that many after you've been playing the game for around 3 years. This is something the community can deal with overall. Be more of a contrarian during Splatfests. It helps everyone have more fun, and if your team loses, you still get the same amount of Super C snails at the end as the winning team does. So if you feel like one team is going to get the popular vote in the long run, go with the opposite team. However, this is not just an us problem, it's also a Nintendo problem. The Splatfest could have been better if it was something like Fire Flower vs. Superstar, or Mini Mushroom vs. Mega Mushroom. The topic was not at all divisive, like it should have been. We've had Splatfests that are super divisive, like Family vs. Friends, and that was one of the best Splatfests we've had. And topics like this do a really good job at getting us closer to a 50-50 split. Just because the game is rated E10+, doesn't mean that we need stupid dumb baby choices like front row versus back row. And you know what? Even that one was more divisive than this one. To put it all together, a combination of hype let down, bad maps, and non-divisive choices led to Mushroom vs. Star Splatfest being the worst Splatfest that the Splatoon franchise has ever seen. What could have made the Splatfest better? Well, for starters, definitely the player population balance. But what if the Splatfest had lived up to the hype? In the next video, we will go over what made Mayo vs. Ketchup 2 the best Splatfest ever. Alrighty everyone, thank you for watching. This is the time in the video where I go off script to just talk about things for a few seconds. Oscar, I saw you in my lobby and I thought, you know what, I love when people come and join in my game, so I'm going to start leaving my friend code in all of my descriptions now. How did you guys like my cop performance in Joey Pierleone's video? I thought I did a pretty good job, but I'm going to leave a link in the description to that. It's a joke for the 5-year-olds who didn't see it. Seriously, there are a surprising amount of people that don't understand that Joey is not in jail right now. And honestly, that's one of the most hilarious parts of the whole thing. But yeah, I will see you guys in a few days where we will talk about what made Mayo vs. Ketchup 2 the best Splatfest ever. Alright guys, thank you and I will see you next time.